The day we found out was actually my daughter's graduation day. He found out the day before, but didn't tell us because he knew the next day was a graduation and he didn't want to spoil it for us. So he kept it from us that day. And then actually on the graduation day, that was the day when he actually ended up, that evening after her graduation, is when he ended up coming out and saying, because we've had the day, we went to Sheffield and Huddersfield, and you know, she had graduated, and then everybody came back to the house, and you know, you have a little celebration afterwards, and he didn't really take part in it, and anybody that knew him knew he was the life and soul of the party. But when we got back, he kind of like went upstairs to bed and just said, when you're ready to crack the champagne and do the speeches, call me.
It's a roller coaster, to be honest. Ups and downs. Didn't really believe him when he told me. I was like, you're lying. You've never been ill in your life. You've never had anything wrong with you. You've never been to the doctors.
In hindsight, when we look back at it now, he must have had it for a long time. Because he always complained of pain in his stomach, but he put it down to the West Indian cooking, you know, spices and hot pepper sauce, things like that, red meat. And he always complained of a pain in his stomach for years. But being the man he was, he never went to the GP or anything about it. But in the actual year that he did pass, it was like getting more frequent and getting worse. So he did go to the doctors, and as I say, it was a short thing. Grief, everybody deals with it different, but I'd just say, you've got your family, you know, take whatever support you can get, just take it, because you do, no man's an island, and you do need people and friends and the outside agencies for support to help you.
I was off work, and one of my sister's friends said, I've just been with your sister. So I'm like, oh, I didn't know she was off work. And then she said, yeah, I've just been to the doctors with her, but I can't tell you what it is. That's for her to tell you. So I was like, that seems a bit strange. So I rang my sister and I said, oh, here you've been to the doctor. So she said, oh yeah, come round. So I went round, and then she went, I found a lump. And I was like, oh, okay, found a lump. She said, I'm going to have my results in a week, but I found a lump, but they think it's cancer. And I was like, oh, okay. Didn't really know what to think, but I know a year earlier my dad had prostate cancer. So, but it still seemed different, because my dad's older and he was in his 60s, late 60s at the time. But I knew other people had breast cancer, but to know that my sister had it, I was like, I don't know. I can't really remember what I felt at the time.
I knew she was suffering when I used to go and see her in hospital, because at one stage she just seemed to be constantly in hospital. And I just thought, yeah, she's at peace now. And I remember a couple of the kids around the bed crying, and I just looked, and you know, and my dad just touched her head, and he just sort of did a half smile, and it's you know, it's quite nice. And then we were all in the overspill room, in the family room, and we were all just talking about sort of the good times, that, you know what I mean. And so yeah, that's my experience, and yeah, it was like, it was a bittersweet time, put it that way.
I'm not in denial, but I still feel as if she's just away. I just feel like she might still be in hospital, or she'd have gone off, you know, maybe like on, she sometimes used to go away with work. So I still kind of feel like that. I think when it does kind of hit me is when I've either gone for an interview or I'm kind of getting another job, and I used to send her a text to say, oh, guess what, I've got an interview. And she was like, oh, no, not another one, I can't keep up with you.
I felt my dad's shoulder, and I'm like, Dad, you know what I mean? And it was like 3 months later, he rang me to say he needs to go to the hospital because he couldn't wee. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, Anyway, I got up, took him, and my dad never complains about pain. And that's what, it was around that time when it came back about the C word, and we were like trying to come to terms with it. And then my sister got diagnosed in April 2014, I think it was. She first started off with yellow eyes, feeling sick. We didn't know what was wrong. I got a phone call. We was on our way back from London. She says that she's been vomiting and she didn't go to work. And I'm like, what? 'Cause she always went to work. I says, you must be really poorly. Went to the doctors, took blood tests, did all sorts, nothing. Eventually, I think it was a few days after the third blood test, the hospital rang her to come up and says that the blood test has come back negative and they want to do some more tests. Anyway, she kept her in hospital, was at the hospital with her. She was supposed to have a scan, 2 scans. She didn't have them. The doctor said to her, have you got any questions? And she says, is she going to die? So the doctor dismissed it. So I says, are you going to answer her? She's just asked, is she going to die? So the doctor says, what are you asking me? Have you got cancer? So I said, yeah, that's what she's asking you. So they says, it's a big possibility. And even though you're kind of prepared, you're not. And the doctor says, basically she's got cancer, she's got 6 months to live. And I remember the room, everybody was just screaming and screaming, screaming, screaming. My sister sat there and she was as strong as I don't know what. And she's looking round. I think she might have been in shock. I couldn't breathe. My kids were screaming, shouting. It was just awful. The experience is just horrendous. My dad was an absolute nightmare, tragedy. I couldn't come to terms with it. Like I said to you before, my dad was my rock. There's nothing, there was nothing I couldn't tell my dad, you know what I mean? My brothers and sisters always used to say I'm his favourite, but he'll tell you straight, no, is that everybody's his favourite. And my dad wasn't one to show his emotions, you know what I mean? And I remember the day when I got married in Jamaica, he said to a colleague at the table, a colleague said to him, oh, it's fantastic that you've come all the way to Jamaica to give Carol away. And when my dad said to her, he'll travel to the moon and back, my heart I just couldn't stop crying because my dad never ever shows his emotions, you know what I mean? I've lost a good friend. My life has just changed completely. I can't even look at her photographs. Even my dad's photographs are there, but I don't look at them. Be there for the loved ones. Just be there as much as you can, if you are able to be there.
Well, it wasn't that long actually. She didn't suffer for long. She was diagnosed in 2014 in April end of May, and then it was a year later she passed away. But it was, from that point, it was her having an operation, and then it was a chemo and radiotherapy. And that was quite a long process because you have like rounds of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. I don't think everyone, unfortunately, is lucky enough to have the support, the friendship, you know, the friendship groups that I've got, my then partner, and then family. Being part of a big family, you know, it bonded us together, it made us closer. And I think, because I had loads of different groups of friendship groups, I sort of could talk to any one of them and it'd be fine. So yeah, I do think that the support really helped me through it, and if I didn't have that, I might be in a completely different position right now. You know, as I mentioned before, having that network that I did, my friends and my family, I think we all supported each other. So, you know, it wasn't me just spilling my guts to them, it was my sister, you know, if she wanted to talk to me about things, I'd be there for her also. But no, I think reaching out, I think some people are scared, they don't want to bother people and their friends, and when your friends ask you how you are. Don't just say I'm okay, because sometimes I can be like that. Sometimes I think I'm fine, but when they asked me, I would talk to them. And I think talking about it, the more you talk about it, the more it helps. So, yeah, I think doing that and then channeling that grief into something positive has really helped. I think definitely. Life. I think I was angry with why mum, and I think because. Anyone who knows me knows I like to do my research, so I researched into stomach cancer, which might be a bad idea, I don't know, but I was looking at the statistics, and they say men normally get it over this certain age, the hereditary factor as well. No one in my mum had it, and my mum's family had it. My mum she didn't drink, she didn't smoke, which is 2 of the contributing factors to it. So that really angered me a little bit. I was like, well, why my mum? Like, why? And I thought, well, it could be because she's stressed. But then I looked into it a little bit more. And there's actually another thing which is quite positive. What I did from this was I found out there's a bacteria called H. pylori, which is, I think 50% of the world's population gets it, but it might not develop into anything else. But a lot of cases of stomach cancer can be caused by stomach ulcers, which is caused by this bacterium, H. pylori. And I guess with anything in life, if you're stressed or you drink too much or whatever, it could have triggered it. So I thought maybe my mum had that. And I looked into it a bit more, and it mentioned that children of people, who've had this, or siblings, whoever, close family, should get should check this out. So I did. I checked it out, and I actually had H. pylori. But it doesn't mean that I would have got stomach cancer or stomach ulcer. It just meant that there was a chance that I could have if I left it and had something trigger it off.
A lot of people do, especially black minorities, they feel ashamed about getting professional help. Like I said earlier, I went and sought it because I'm finding it hard to cope, and that was before my dad passed. I just couldn't come to terms that he may die of the C word, you know what I mean? So I went to seek professional help off my own accord, and not that my son had anything to do with it, but I'm proud to say that he was getting counselling as well, which I was very shocked about because he's a private person, and he went and got counselling, my eldest son, yeah. But it's a cultural thing, I believe.
Do you think that, Carol, do you think that maybe like the younger people for the future, do you think they will be more open to counselling? Because I mean, obviously, I'm thinking people like ourselves who were born anywhere between maybe say 1965 onwards, we took our kind of parents' stance, I guess, because I mean, I'm assuming that right across the Caribbean, since most of us are African Caribbean, it would have been a case of, you just have to get on with it. So I'm kind of thinking that younger people might go for counselling more, might not see
I hope they do.
They definitely are going, because friends of Marlon, both male and female, was advising him because they went to counselling as well. So I personally believe a lot of younger people, more than our age group, are finding going to the counselling helping.
I think they should. I think they should, because when Trevor died, I did get counselling, and I definitely needed it. But Rushelle, my daughter, she wouldn't have it. And I think, to this day, I still think she needs to have some form of counselling, but...
It's like my youngest son, sorry Annette,
okay.
It's like my youngest son, and I believe he needs it, from what he's lost his auntie, he's lost his brother, he's lost my dad. And I'm advising him to go, I mean, it's nothing to be embarrassed about, but...
It's a stigma though, isn't it, really? And sometimes I think people don't go for counselling. I didn't go for counselling because I just don't feel I need it. I'm not saying I might not in the future, but at the moment, everything's fine. But some people see it as I'm admitted to someone that I can't cope. But it's not about that. Sometimes it's a pride thing. All it's saying is I just need a helping hand. And I'm just getting somebody to talk to. sit down, talk, instead of keeping it inside
Yeah.
and then that making me ill. So it's just
Basically, what I'd love to get across to the young people, counselling is far better than taking medication, because it's like, it's either medication or the counselling. And for me, it's working, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm over the worst of what I'm going through, but it is definitely working. I'm using the mechanism tools and working with them, and
That's right,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It does work.